We lost Angela. Is she still with us?
She is on, but not on camera, so she's
Okay.
in the meeting.
Okay.
All right, everyone, welcome. And I guess there is no public comment because no one else is here.
Right.
Okay, so we need to approve the minutes from, no, when were the minutes? From September, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you. Oh, there they are. Yep. So do I have a motion for approving the minutes from September 8th, 2022?
So moved.
And I'll second. All those in favor? There aren't many of us left. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes approved. And let's see, so old business. The enforcement of subpoenas. Where are we going with that, Ed?
That's still on me at this point. I just need to get that done.
I can relate. I know how those things go. You're like, oops, forgot to do that.
I haven't forgot about it. Just keeps getting moved to the bottom
Yeah,
of the to-do list.
of your pile. Get it. All right. And how about any word on the ethics training? No. So,
No, I don't have any new information, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to take this off the agenda until there's something to report.
sure, the ethics, yeah, because that's the ball's in the city's court, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So we just have to wait to hear from them. I mean, do you think it's worth reaching out again, or should we just let them handle it?
I would just let it.
Okay.
We're gonna have a lot of possible new turnover next year for officials, so it may be worth waiting until
Okay.
24.
Gotcha. And new business. It's the local enforcement of the supplemental statement of financial interest.
So this is one of the reasons why I asked you all to get together. Last year, you approved the supplemental form. Council then authorized, they changed the code to include that as part of a requirement when they file the state form to also file the city form. There are a lot of people who don't think they have to file the supplemental form. So since it's now required in the code, I need to know how we're going to follow up with those people who don't file the supplemental form.
How is it done?
So I
with
guess I'm
other-
looking at Ed.
Yeah.
Well, with the Pennsylvania form, if people don't file them, I tell the Ethics Commission and the commission follows up with all of those people. So it would need to be something similar, I guess, with this board, if it would be like similar to the complaint process, or how we would want to go about trying, pursuing them to try and get that form filed.
I was going to suggest that maybe we could have badges issued to us and we can get a car with flashing lights on it and drive around to their home addresses.
With forms in hand and
That's
pens,
right.
fill this out now, yeah.
Well, you know what the state does is basically, they start off with what I'll essentially say is like a gentle reminder. And then the pressure gets ratcheted up until, I've had
Been there.
one of my other clients, I'm not going to say anything, Melissa.
I'm so bad with stuff like that. I'll admit it.
With one of my other authorities and a former board member, it got to the point where they actually sent an agent out to her place of employment to basically ask that the form be submitted. And then when she ignored that, they filed an action against her in Commonwealth Court. So, I would suggest some kind of a staggered or a step-by-step approach would be appropriate.
So what I do now is everybody gets that first letter reminding us all that we have to do it every year. that has both forms with it. If by May, I usually give you a grace period 15. If you haven't done it, then we have letter number 2 that goes out. Like Ed said, it's a little stronger than the first one. Now we remind you that you've missed your deadline and that if you don't file it, you'll get reported to the state and you're, all these bad things can happen to you from them. I usually give people till September for that one. No, I'm sorry, July or August. And then in September, I do a third one that's like, this is your final, and if you don't file it, I'm going to turn you over to the state for enforcement. So I do that already, kind of. So I didn't know if you want to
You
see what
referenced
those
the-
letters look like, I can email them to you all.
In your letters to this point, Shelley, have you been referencing the supplemental form as well?
I don't recall if they specifically reference that, but both forms are part of the packet that goes
Yeah.
out with the letter.
Right.
That
Well,
sounds good, Shelley,
I think
to me.
I would suggest that, we let initially Shelley handle it administratively like she has been. Make sure the letters, in fact. Before I go on, Shelley, just one question. So the people that are ignoring it, are they also ignoring filing the state form?
Not necessarily. Some do the state form and don't do the supplemental,
Okay.
especially now since we've updated and asked for that additional information.
Right. Well, then I think, go back to what I was saying. I think the letters that Shelley is issuing, we would just let her handle it as she has been, make sure the correspondence references the requirement to file the supplemental form, which is now codified by ordinance. And then when is the last letter you sent, Shelley? In the fall, you said September?
Yeah, I think it's in September because usually by like mid-October, I'm sending the names to the state.
Yeah. I would say then by mid-October, maybe the next letter would come from me with an admonition that if the forms aren't, if the local form is not filed, the next step after that would be, the board has the authority to initiate basically an ethical complaint on its own initiative. It's never done that, but that power is in the code. So, we've always in the past just responded to complaints, but the board has the authority to initiate a complaint on its own, and we could, that could be that would be the enforcement step.
That, to me, that makes sense. Yeah. Shelley, if it's not too much for you to administer, I mean, that process, of May and then in July and then September seems like a reasonable.
Yeah, and then I would add that in mid-October, the next letter would come for me, and then if by mid-November there's not been compliance, then the next step would be to consider taking formal action.
And that formal action would be a hearing, is that?
It would be a complaint that would trigger sort of the complaint process that's outlined in the code. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
I mean, I just did all my filings because I have to do about 9 of these things, and the supplemental city form takes about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. A question, Shelley. I think I've done the statements. Do you have a record by chance?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I have a master list of all the people that I need to get them back from. And as they come back, you get checked off. And that's how I determine who gets letter 2 and letter 3. So if you did not do them, you would have heard from me multiple times last year So I'm sure you have done them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a lot of, I did this already, why do I have to do it again? Because it's every year, people just,
Yeah, they
the
don't.
year comes around faster and faster and you feel like you're always filing them, but I can't,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you got to do it again.
It's the price we pay for being involved.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that somebody make a motion to adopt that as a procedure, and then Shelley and I could, we could reduce it to writing to formalize, but
Okay, so moved.
Then seconded.
Everyone in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carried. Shelley, do you need a minute to catch up?
Nope, I'm okay.
good.
So this second topic, the campaign finance report, like I said earlier, we're gonna have a possibility of a big transition year, and there's 6 city council seats up for election,
Wow.
the auditor and the mayor. So that's a lot of campaigning. And we haven't really, we kind of leave it on the honor system, whether or not campaigns are filing with us when they file with the county. So with this much turnover and this much activity this year, I just wanted to get a sense from all of you, if you want me to kind of keep to the honor system, which some do and some don't, or if we want to be a little more consistent and make sure that all of them do, and then how do we go about doing that?
so is the issue of having they have to file the campaign finance reports under the state election code with the county board of elections. We also would like them to be filed with the city clerk's office.
Yeah, and that's part of the code with that whole campaign finance piece. So when they file with the county, they file then with the clerk. I have had one candidate come forward yesterday already. So I did explain all of that to her. Hopefully that will happen. I had the campaign finance pieces attached to the agenda, and I'm looking.
It's in section B.
Yeah. 10.
It's on the
11?
last page. It's on the last
1004.
page.
I see
Oh,
it.
no,
Yeah.
that's the statement of financial interests.
Yeah, it's under on the last page, reporting requirements B2. Whenever a candidate, I'm going to paraphrase it, files a required report with the Berks County Board of Elections, such person shall at the same time file with the city clerk a copy of all information set forth in such reports in that format mandated by the Board of Ethics. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I mean,
So when we first started doing this, when I knew about who was campaigning, I think I have a letter that reminds them. I don't recall it. I don't really remember. But there's going to be a lot this year, and you kind of have to rely on the newspaper, which is not the quality that it used to be. And, I'm just unclear at this point what you want me to do to kind of get this done.
So when the petitions, when the filing or the filing deadline for the petitions closes, you know who the candidates are.
We are not officially informed who the candidates are. So elections has that. After a time, I think we can find it on the website, but I don't know how that works.
Will a phone call to the elections office, will they tell us? Or
I don't know. That's a new staff now. We don't have Debbie anymore. And the new person, I don't know how familiar they are with the process. at this point. This
Well,
will be their
what I'm
first
driving at
election.
would be, it would be very, I know how candidates can be, they're focused on other things. They're not necessarily, first in all this. It would be good to try to get them a letter informing them of this requirement well before the filing, the first file. They're set.
Right,
I think the first campaign finance report is due like 5 weeks before the primary. So there's a date, they have to have that in to the Board of Elections. And then they have to file the second report like a week or 5 days before the primary election. It would be good to get them a letter well in advance of those dates, so at least they're arguably aware of this requirement.
okay.
But we don't want to just do it ad hoc. It would be nice if elections would tell us who the candidates are based on the petitions that have been filed.
And is it on the city website? Is that something else we could add?
It's not on the city's, well, so what Linda has said multiple times over the years is if the county would put the petitions online, the city wouldn't have to require them because we do put them online. And that's part of the transparency that we're looking for. When people are trying to find and research petitions and look things up, they have to go into the elections office and ask to see them rather than being able to sit at home and scroll through them. So that's kind of the gap we're trying to fill at this point with that piece of that. So I'm not sure if elections, I know they don't post the petitions. I don't know if they list the candidates until it's time for the ballot, and that's already way late for the process. They publish the ballot in the newspaper at some point that has all the names listed, but I think that that's beyond some of those filing deadlines.
Yeah. I mean, is it worthwhile for Shelley and I to reach out to the elections office? They do have all new people there. I mean, we don't know, you're going by what was past practice. I mean,
Right?
I think
And
it
I
would
don't
be because
know the new person.
it makes sense to me that if they're already having to, register with them, why wouldn't we give them that information right then and there?
Yeah, makes sense.
But I get how that communication is probably a great challenge.
well, there's a great distance between the courthouse and the city hall.
Yeah, and I mean, I also understand that people are filing petitions for school boards and it's countywide and it can get pretty hectic in there. So I understand that as well, but
Yeah,
there has
there
to
are
be a
five
little bit of cooperation, I think.
positions on Reading's school board this year. It's going to be a busy year for them.
Yeah,
Well,
Sorry, hold on.
why don't we start with reaching out, Shelley, to whoever the new director of that office is and take their temperature on this.
okay.
Yeah,
And
Shelley,
then I would suggest that if they're cooperative and we can identify all the candidates for city office who are running, that we send them a letter informing them or reminding them of the filing requirements set forth in the code.
Okay.
yeah, Shelley, I was just gonna say when you said that there's 6 council, the auditor and the mayor this year with all those positions, and maybe to get back on track if at all possible, now would be a good time, rather than just, as you said, with the honor system, now may be a good time, even though it may be logistically a problem, but the effort, I think, should be made. I mean, those are my thoughts.
Well, that makes sense, Jeff. Angela, did you want to weigh in on that? I don't know if she's still with us.
I am here. I agree with that. Just had to unmute myself for a second.
No worries. I don't want you to feel excluded.
No, no, I'm not. I'm here.
Good. We're glad. Yeah, I think that would be the best way to go if you and Ed are comfortable with that, Shelley.
I'm fine, and I'll work with Kathleen, Ed, to get some dates and times that you're available.
Okay.
All right, let me go back, scroll back to the agenda. I
Are
think,
we down 2 board members?
We are down 2 board members.
yeah, I think that. Oh, I have someone, there's someone I can ask. So if anyone knows anyone, or is that, is there any other person we need to go through?
Well, city council has a
Yeah.
interview process, but
Yes,
application.
I can send you the application form by email if you'd like.
that'd be great. Yeah, I have some neighbors I could ask for sure. Or I should try to reach out to people in other areas of the city. I feel like we're always the Northeast Reading crew.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for the good of the group?
Nothing here.
Great. Then I guess we can have a motion to adjourn.
Do we want to pick a meeting date, or do you want me
Oh.
to just contact everyone after Ed
Well,
and I meet with election?
Let's see what kind of reaction we get from the elections office, Shelley. Because I mean, the one sort of question that's left unanswered is, does the board want to set up any kind of an enforcement mechanism for someone who fails to file? But before we deliberate on that, let's find out how much cooperation we're going to get from the county.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right,
Sounds good.
thanks as always, everyone, especially Shelley and Ed.
Yes.
You do all the grunt work for us. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I'll
Okay.
make a motion to adjourn now.
Shelley, can I ask you a question?
Sure. Do you want me to quit the recording first?
Sure.